and welcome to Access UTV. My name is Michelle Edhouse, and today I'm going to be talking about another one of the Access Consciousness Distractor implants, and in relationship to parenting. Earlier in the week I did blame, getting out of the blame of being the blame of creating what's been created, the blame of blaming them for everything. And that that became really handy for me yesterday. I was babysitting the dog again, and he decided to absolutely tear to shreds my rubber mat that's at the bottom of the stairs, so that you can not bring the dirt up onto the deck, right? And he just ripped it to pieces. Yep, it was an old mat, but he did it deliberately. And he did it to tell me something. And the first thing that showed up in my world was I did go to that space of blame. And I stopped, I went, okay, cool. All the distractor implants creating this, I destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine boys, shorts and beyonds. And what am I aware of if I'm not functioning from blame? As I talked about in the video. And little snippets of awareness showed up, and then when those awarenesses showed up, he was pissed off at me. I'd made him go for a really long walk, which he didn't want to do. I'd made him sit on the floor in the car because he'd chewed his harness and he couldn't sit on the chair because he didn't have a harness to wear. And then I just grumpily tied him up and went inside. And so he'd chosen to create this absolutely mangled mess of a mat to tell me something. He was getting his message across. So that was the awareness I got when I got out of the distractor implant of blame. What then showed up was the distractor implant of shame. Now, shame is one of those things where, you're embarrassed because something's occurred, whether it be you're shamed that your child stole a lolly out of the bulk bin and didn't pay for it, whether you're shamed that your child was supposed to do something at school and didn't, and whether you're ashamed of yourself for choosing something, whether in a moment of frustration you slap the back of your child's hand because they're being really naughty, and then you go into this space of, oh no, I'm so ashamed that I did that, I shouldn't have done that. Now, for those of you outside of New Zealand, it's actually illegal to hit your child in New Zealand, so that's actually created this space where so many people are now ashamed that they actually just give their child a little bit of a wake up call. And that law's been brought in because of the physical abuse being perpetrated on children, but it has created that space of shame if you do just smack their hand for trying to take something that's not theirs or whatever. So again, another distractor implant showed up in my world, and I was like, wow, okay, cool. So all the shame I'm using, all the distractor implant of shame, I destroy and uncreate that. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine boys, shorts and beyonds. And all the everything I've been unwilling to be aware of because of the shame, I now destroy and uncreate that. And what would it take for that to show up with ease? So as you can see, there's these distractor implants just all, kind of they create this labyrinth of distraction that keeps you from being aware of what's really going on, keeps you from being you, keeps you from having total awareness in any 10 seconds of everything that's going on. If I hadn't been functioning from the shame of being forceful with the dog, would he have actually done what he was asked to do the next time I asked him to sit on the floor? Or was he trying to show me, dude, You're functioning from this wonky space. Hello. Look, I'm going to do it again so that you notice where the wonk is in your world. And instead I just kept going to this, blaming him for being wrong and shame that I couldn't control him. And so once you get out of the distractor implants, you can actually see, and animals, plants, washing, trees, birds, they're all actually gifting us information, and if we're willing to receive it, we've got a class coming up here this weekend in Rotorua. We've got the amazing Robbie Robson. I always go to call her Robbie Richardson, coming up from Palmerston North to teach the Talk to the Entities class. And how much more awareness could you have of all the entities, whether they're disembodied people or whether they are animals or plants? How much more awareness could you have if you weren't functioning from the distracted implants? And I was talking to somebody about the distractor implants one day, and they're like, but I don't get how blame or shame is a distraction. I said, well, if you're trying to talk to your kid and the TV's on and they keep watching the TV, or you can actually sense them listening to the TV more than they're listening to you, that's a distraction, right? And I'm like, yeah. I said, so if you're in your head going into all the shameful stuff that you've done and how terrible and wrong and bad it is that you smacked the dog for not sitting on the floor where he'd been told 5 times already, what would you have been aware of? Oh, you mean that the distractor implants like shame and blame are like having a TV distracting you from listening to the conversation? I said, yeah, exactly. And so are you willing to turn off those distractor implants and actually start to perceive, know, be and receive everything? When it comes to parenting, being aware of everything can open up a space where, just having an awareness of a teenager starting to, mix with certain people or behave in certain ways or choose certain things, and just having that in your awareness and being able to talk about something that's relative, that teaches them some information, gives them information without you sitting down and lecturing them, having that awareness. But if you're functioning from the distractor implant of, oh, it's such a shameful thing, I'm such a bad mother, my kid's starting to watch porn or whatever, can you actually be aware of those places and spaces where you can create a different reality? You can contribute to them choosing something that's greater. And I'm not saying porn's bad or wrong. We've had conversations with our boys about porn and about, what if you were to look for, if you're going to choose porn, look for porn that's got kindness and caring and joy and fun in it, and have that be your turn on rather than the negative crap. So instead of going into the shame of, oh my goodness, my children are watching porn, I was able to look at it and go, okay, cool, what's required here that can contribute to them choosing a sexual reality that's joyful and expansive and beyond the crap that they put into porn. And how that shows up, whether he doesn't watch porn, whether he chooses a different form of porn, whether he invents a different form of porn, I don't know, whatever shows up. And are you willing to get those distractions out of the way? Get that shame of the shame of being a bad parent, or the shame of your history. Like, so many people function from it's so shameful that my parents behaved like this, or it's so shameful that I allowed my brother to do this to his kids, or whatever that be. And it takes them from being able to be aware of what else is possible. So as we have liftoff in the sky, I bid you farewell and thank you for choosing to create a different reality in the world, and what else is possible in parenting and beyond when we get out of the distractors. Cheers.